All right. Hi, everyone, for today's YouTube Live. Ask me anything, any Google Ads questions that you may have. I am here to respond to them. There's nothing off limits. I would even challenge you to ask me a question that I cannot respond to. So just type them in the chat box and we'll get started. In the meantime, I'll be reviewing some of the most commonly asked questions of some of the groups that we run. I'll make sure that also everybody has the right link. And other than that, I'm just hoping to provide massive value to you and help you solve some of your most burning Google Ads questions. Now, one of the most common things that showed up in the past kind of like weeks is that people kept saying is that, hey, I am so overwhelmed. I feel so stressed out by my ads. Like either nothing is working or I don't know like what my return of ad spend is, or I don't know, what I'm even spending, right? But the thing is, you should not be stressed out, right? You should really not be stressed out about your ads. It should all be crystal clear to you. So, just going to put the link in our LinkedIn group. And then in the meantime, feel free to put your questions in the chat box. Great. Perfect. So, what to do when you are stressed out with Google Ads? Well, the most important step to take first is to understand why are you actually stressed out, right? And a lot of people are stressed out because they have no clarity on what is actually happening, right? So typically when we feel stressed out, we're overwhelmed, and when maybe there's too many options, maybe when we don't feel good about the options that we have. And so what I found that typically helps is to understand, hey, I know what's going on, and this is the steps I need to take next, right? And that's an approach that you can pretty much take for anything in life. Whenever you're stressed out about something, think about what is it that you're stressed out about? Why are you stressed out about it? And how can you actually solve it? So, when you're stressed out about Google Ads, make sure that you first know your data. What does that mean? Knowing your data means that you have an awareness of the most important metrics in your Google Ads account and what those are. Typically, that's something along the lines of the click through rate, like the CTR, the cost per conversion, the number of conversions, as well as the conversion rate, right? Those are the ones that you should know. And if you don't know these by heart, or if it takes you more than a minute to look them up, then that's something that you should automate, right? Because you need these metrics in order to make good decisions. Decisions are not based on feelings, but based on data, right? So the other aspect is that people also don't know how much you're spending on different marketing channels, right? Well, if I know I'm spending, let's say, 30K a month on Google Ads, I'm getting, let's say, 1,000 conversions, then I know what my cost per conversion is, right? And from the other metrics in my campaign, I can also derive what my conversion rate is, right? And knowing these numbers, I can then compare them against, well, where do I want to be at, right? Or if I don't know where I yet want to be because maybe I'm new to Google Ads, one thing I could do is I could compare them with like my profit margin, right? I could compare them with, well, what I'm actually making for each customer, right? If a customer is worth, let's say, 15,000 and I'm paying $1,000 to acquire them, that can sometimes, in some instances, be okay, but in most others, it will not be, right? So then I would look at, okay, so I'm currently spending $1,000 to acquire one customer. What could I do to reduce that? I could look at my location report. I could look at my device report. I could look at my ad schedule. I could look at my keywords, and I could look at stuff that is spending a lot of money. So typically, you'd look at the cost column, or I could look at Where am I having the highest cost per conversion, right? Where am I having the lowest click through rate? And then I could simply pause this. So, for example, I could look at the top 10 performing cities or states or regions. And I could also look at the lowest performing ones. And if the lowest performing ones are really far apart from the top performing ones, then I would simply pause these, right? And just making sure that this is shared in the group. Perfect. Okay. Okay. Now, you could also look at the ad schedule, right? Are people buying mostly in the evening or the night? Or are they buying during the day? When are they calling, right? For example, one aspect could be in, especially the healthcare industry, if I see that people are calling a lot of times outside of my typical office hours, if we talk, like 9 to 5, 10 to 4 or so, I could think about, do I hire somebody who can take calls outside of these office hours? Or do I engage a system that helps me respond to these calls, right? Or do I simply pause my ads because right now I might not have the resources or finances or even the brain space to think about that, right? And then probably you can optimize your budget even further. What we have found with most clients in the past is that there's always a good 40 to 50% of the budget that's being wasted at any point in time. And if you optimize the campaigns accordingly, your campaigns suddenly start performing double as good because that like 50% of the budget that was wasted before is now being spent in ways that's actually beneficial to you and is actually bringing you more leads or conversions or purchases, right? So let's see, we got the location, we got the ad schedule, and I'll see if I can show you that actually right now. I cannot show you this in a live account because obviously I don't want to like share any sensitive details with anybody. But we do have a practice account, so I can at least show you where you could find that. So let me share my screen with you. All right, here we are in our practice account. You can see that no campaigns are running right now, but I can at least show you where those would be, right? So typically you can find locations in our audiences, keywords, and content, and then you would have targeted locations here. Let's see if I can go for like pause and I can, there we go, perfect. So you can already see that there's a targeted location here, and I'm going to go for, let's say, cities. So this was a audio campaign that we actually ran. It was a test campaign. And it actually went pretty successful because our ads were shown in front of some really known podcasts. And so, yeah, I would advocate for audio campaigns all the time. And by the way, Google keeps showing this like refresh the page button today quite often. So it seems there is a bit of a bug there. Okay, we're not going to switch now. So I can see now how each of these like locations performs, right? You can always extend it here. And if I would see that, let's say, there was a lot of ad spend in Seattle, right? I mean, obviously, this is not a lot, but if it was like a lot of ad spend in Seattle and my conversions were still zero, then I could say added and remove, right? Or I could even say exclude. If it's multiple cities or states, I can just all take them at the same time and say edit, remove, right? But always make those decisions based on data and metrics, right? So if you just like have a feeling, I would not recommend to act based on that. I would always recommend acting based on data, right? And if you do not have that report, let's say you are an agency who's working with clients, simply ask your client for that report. We sometimes do that too. We just say, you know what, send me your top 10 performing cities, regions, states, countries, etc. And then we'll make adjustments based on that, right? And obviously, if you're not measuring conversions, then I would base this off of the click through rate. So I would literally look at where is my click through rate the highest and where my average cost per clicks the lowest, right? If I go to ad schedule, you would see an ad schedule here that will literally show you at which during which dates and times it would perform best. You can also find it under insights and reports. When you go to when and where ads showed, you can see that here as well. You can switch between day, so that's like day of the week, or we can go to even hour, right? And I can see during which hour it runs best. And it's the same way of thinking every single time, where I would simply look at when is it performing best, right? So I'll go here and I click on edit ad schedule. I would select a campaign first, right? And then I could simply say, do I want it to run every day, only certain hours of the day, of the week, and so on. Like, for example, if you are a business that is mostly open Mondays to Fridays, it could be that you run a separate campaign for Mondays to Fridays, and then you run another campaign for Saturdays and Sundays, right? Because you'd probably want to target people in a different way when they're looking for you, but you're not open for business than when you're open for business, right? So let's say I'm a coffee shop, I run Google Ads, and I'm only open Mondays to Fridays. I would probably want to run a special lunch offer Mondays to Fridays, right? Where I'm like, hey, come in for a lunch menu. It's only XYZ amount of dollars, instead of, what a normal menu would cost, right? And you could even have two different campaigns if you want to allocate different budget towards it. You cannot just have two different ad schedules and then split up the budget within that campaign. That doesn't work. You can only split up the budget according to creating different campaigns. Um, so I went through locations, audiences, well, locations, ad schedule. Let's see what else we have. The devices. That's another good one. So I could look at, for example, how does each campaign perform on which device, right? And for example, sometimes it might be the case that your mobile version isn't yet optimized, right? Or that your desktop version isn't optimized. So, for example, we have a client that has a pretty good desktop version, but their mobile version isn't optimized at all yet. But there's one crucial step to take on mobile that would be very, very important in order to help the conversions grow, right? And increase. And so, what we're going to do to kind of like help fix that is that we would have separate desktop and mobile campaigns, right? So, I would literally create one desktop campaign with a specific budget and one mobile campaign. And then what you could do in a mobile campaign is you could retarget people who have visited your website on desktop with a specific call to action, right? That can be really, really powerful. Um, okay, so those are some of the most important aspects in terms of um, how to optimize your campaign based on data, right? So other ways to deal with when you're stressed about Google Ads. Typically, that happens. I would say most times people approach me when they're already working with another agency, right? Request data from them, ask them about insights, right? Like you as the client should always have full access, not just to your own data, but to everything that's going on in your account, right? So request that. And also, when you ask questions, expect a response, right? And I'm saying this because a lot of times when clients come to us, they complain about not having gotten responses before, having to wait 1, 2 weeks for an answer. And that's not how it should be. We have a pretty, the words that come to mind is strict policy, but let me put it that way is we aim to get back to clients within 48 hours, right? During like normal business hours. And 48 hours being days, but like obviously Saturdays and Sundays, we still take breaks. They're extremely important. But it's okay to expect a response within 1, 2 days, right? And if it takes longer than that on a frequent level, then you got to ask yourself if this is a way that you're okay with working. And if you're not okay with it, ask for a change. And if it doesn't change, look for a different solution. And I think a lot of times you wait too long for looking for that solution. And I even found myself in that situation with another service provider recently where the work was delayed a lot. And I started accepting it because I can be a very understanding and patient person. But it just reached a point where I understood that I cannot wait any longer. I need certain tasks to be done within a certain timeline. And in hindsight, I should have switched earlier. I should have, made a change earlier. And this is really only up to us. This is up to you. This is not up to anybody else. You're the client, you're the customer, so you need to make that decision. That can sometimes be a hard decision because it means change, because it means things doing differently. But of course, hopefully doing things differently for the better, right? So really get clear on how do I want to work? What is important to me? What do I need to make the decisions I need to make in order to grow my business or to have my business in the position that I want it to be, right? And the other aspect that you could do when you're stressed, and that's something I did recently as well, is have a time audit or do a time audit of what you spend your time on, right? And in the beginning, that could be manually, where you literally look at your calendar, look at the time you spend, and just write it down. And then you could, for example, proceed with color coding your events in Google Calendar. It offers a really, really cool option. And then at any point in time, it shows you how much time you're spending on clients and admin work and operational stuff, on accounting and whatever else, right? But understand where your energy goes. And then, as the old saying goes, where energy goes, energy flows, something like that. But you know what I mean. So, really, really try to understand, hey, this is what I'm spending my time right now on. I'm stressed because I'm not spending enough time on XYZ. So, how can I switch that? Do I have to ask for help? Do I need to get support? Do I need to delegate differently? But the one thing I don't want you to do is stay in that stress and accept it as it is. I think a lot of people have accepted it and they just have the story that, hey, if I run a business, it's going to be stressed. It means I'm going to have to put in the hours. I'm going to, suffer. I'm going to have to sacrifice something. And I really want you to understand that that's not how it has to be. And that you really can live and run a business the way you'd want it to, right? But it probably requires making some changes. And that's the same thing with when it comes to your Google Ads campaigns, right? Like another, I recently saw this post where a woman wrote about it. It was a different PPC platform, but the example applies here as well. She was spending $15,000 a month and was paying an agency on top of that $8,000 a month to manage the ads, which is more than a 50% management fee. That's not right. No matter what results you produce, that's typically not right. So I think a lot of times people get caught up in, kind of like catching on to something that's popular, catching on to something that's made to look shiny, and then they almost don't dare to question that, and then they just run with it because they think, oh, it has to be right that way. Or often those people also think, oh, because it's expensive, it must be good. But really go with your gut feeling and try to understand, first of all, what can I afford? Is this really worth the investment? What am I looking to get out of it? What are my expectations, right? Are these expectations reasonable? Am I getting the right communication that I need? Am I getting the transparency that I need? Right. So, and then it's okay to ask for what you want and have an open conversation and say, hey, you know what? I'm really stressed out about this right now. What can we do? How can you support me? Hey, what's up, Devin? Um, okay. So I wanted you to join, but I think I'm not able to get this to work. Damn it. Okay, we need to figure this out the next time. Participants, let me see. Hold on. I I think we need to do this the next time to have you join me. Oh man. Anyway, I was just ranting on about people being stressed out about Google Ads and that shouldn't be and what they can do about that. So, and I know that's also a topic dear to your heart, and we just have often these like conversations. Like people. Um Yeah, we'll do StreamYard the next time. Thank you for trying. The OG speaking here, so I'll rely on you. But anyway, you do not have to be stressed out about Google Ads. And if you're stressed out more than a couple of minutes about Google Ads or more than a couple of days about Google Ads, then please change something. You can always reach out to me. There's probably going to be some notes below the video if you watch the recorded version. Um, you can also always reach out to Devin at Neptune Design, right? Check out his YouTube channel and LinkedIn. There's so many options to get in touch with us, right? And we're here to help you. Know that there's different ways. There's stress-free ways. There's worry-free ways, and like make Google Ads work for you. At least figure out if they work for you in a proper way without spending, multiple five-figure amounts and then wasting your money. So awesome. If you're watching this recording, thank you for watching. You can always post your questions in the comments below and we'll address them in the next YouTube Live next month. Or otherwise, check out the description and to get engaged, to get help. And we're here for you. We're here to support you. And I'll see you in the next one.